These excellent awards recognise and showcase the remarkable work of talented and visionary women in our profession. The awards will promote best practice, support new and established talent, and celebrate women in their roles as leaders in these challenging times.
These awards are important because they encourage our women architects to pursue career goals in a traditionally male-dominated field.
I believe these awards are truly great. Our industry has a real depth with our female colleagues because we have lack to give them the recognition they deserve, and this is a great opportunity.
These awards are incredibly important. Women's contribution to industry and to society needs to be recognised, not only as equal to that of men, but also as substantive in other ways. Without women designing, without women being leaders and creative in industry, so many people across society do not have their needs met. So I think these are very important awards for that very specific reason.
Well, I hope that this is a lasting impact, but something that I really see are people reacting to shape their own environments very quickly and very organically. When I see people move a cafe out onto a street or create outdoor spaces where they can gather with friends and family in a socially distant way. The way that people have taken over, I think, the public realm of sidewalk and street, the way people have returned to parks. I think there's something in that, both in how we see the end user shaping their space and in how we look at, how we, I think, come to again, understand the importance of gathering and community in our spaces.
I think the lasting impact of COVID-19 is twofold. One is how we work, and the second one is how we live. I think that it's necessary for us to rethink our homes, and even more necessary to rethink how we work, how we use our offices. Is it necessary to have those office spaces? How is that going to affect city centres such as London?
The lasting impact of COVID is a really interesting question, and it's often asked, especially as deans of schools of architecture. I think one of the things that we've learned and continue to learn within the COVID crisis is that proximity does not necessarily mean intimacy. We can be very close to someone physically and still feel very distant. And in fact, we can be very far away from our colleagues and our co-workers and friends and family and feel profoundly connected through the platforms and technologies we've all learned very quickly to adapt to. I see this as being an enduring aspect of the current condition. I think that these platforms now will become uniformly and universally utilised even after COVID. They are cost effective, they reduce the commuting budget, and also by implication the burden on the planet relating to commuter-based pollutions, not to mention the safety dimension of travelling to and from work. And as well, they give us more time. They give us time to spend with our families and friends, and also focus on leading fantastic creative businesses.
As soon as I was told that these awards were happening, I offered myself to be in the judging panel. For me personally, it's a unique opportunity to show my female colleagues within our industry how much I appreciate and value the work and how they change in our industry, and it's just wonderful to be able to be in the panel.
Well, I think it's really going to be interesting to see the impact, the maturation of the female voice in the design world, and to see it in such a broad and global context. I'm really hoping to see incredible diversity, a lot of different points of view, and hopefully, yet at the same time, I think a consistent awareness of the role of design and community and how important that is. Design is to create a social framework for our lives.
What do I hope to see in the entries submitted this year? Well, I'm especially interested in women who recognise that it has to come from a kind of personally invested place. All great businesses are really characterized by their ability to be driven by either a personal need that one articulates as a design project and then becomes a successful business, or something that one has an intimate connection to for other reasons. And I think, one of the challenges about having had the design and creative and architectural industry dominated by men for so long is that many of the designs that were produced were really serving other men. They weren't really able to adapt to or respond to the needs of women within the built environment, within the product design industry. So what's exciting about these kind of awards is that if it comes from this excluded demographic of women, there's more chance that what we'll have are some really interesting work that I think meets that need, or at least certainly could meet the needs of everybody and not just one particular group. So that's what I'm really looking for in the entries, this ability to innovate inclusively, and what that could mean for radical new entries into the creative industries and also the growth of niche market businesses.
Well, I think when I entered the profession in the late 80s, it was still somewhat unusual to be a woman architect. Not unheard of, but certainly it was an early generation. And I think oftentimes I felt like I had to reflect on what I brought to the profession, what made me different, perhaps what gave me a special insight. I think that today, just in my own colleagues and network, I see women actually predominant in so much of the industry, really working in every niche across many different building types and with many different points of view. And I think that is something that's very much in process, but I think that the role of women in architecture and in design is becoming much more universal and maybe less differentiating.
Architecture has changed since the 1970s, when I was a student at the Architectural Association, where Jane Drew also studied. As Doreen Lawrence has pointed out, there is still structural discrimination in education and practice. There is, however, a recognition of the need for change, and so many courageous women and men of all ages, cultures, and backgrounds are engaged in making a difference. And the award of the Reba Gold Medal to the great Sir David Adjaye, the second person of colour after Dame Zaha Hadid to achieve this prestigious award, shows how far we've come. To paraphrase Dame Zaha and Martin Luther King, we still have a dream of a future when success is determined not by your gender or the colour of your skin, but by your talent for architecture.